Today is Thursday, October 15, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Ice Cube will join us to talk about his critics regarding talking with the Trump campaign and them including some of his contract with Black America language in Donald Trump's so-called Platinum Plan. Also, Alicia Garza is going to be with Black Futures Lab, is going to be joining us as well. The House Democratic Campaign Committee has launched a Black voters campaign targeting Black men in key congressional districts 19 days before the election. What the hell took so long? Essence and the Black Women's Roundtable released the results of the 2020 Power of the Sister Vote poll today. We'll share that with you. Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court is a done deal. Democrats also. Why do Republicans break the rules today when it came to even voting on her nomination to advance it to the Senate floor? I told y'all, they have no shame. In the years, half the states have changed their laws to expand voting access to people with felony convictions, but 5.2 million people remain disenfranchised. We'll discuss that with the folks who put that survey out. And State Senator Joyce Elliott of Little Rock, Arkansas, will join us to talk about her campaign for Congress. And Larenz Tate will also be here with a preview of his new movie, Business Ethics. All that, the latest anti-Trump ads, including a banger for the Lincoln Project, dealing with Donald Trump Jr., also known as Fredo. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin!
All right, folks, this week the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee boosted its Black outreach campaign with a new radio ad to match print and digital ads designed to reach Black voters in key congressional districts. With the accompanying direct mail campaign, the DCCC will make a seven-figure investment in targeted advertising and paid communications to reach Black voters in more than a dozen battleground states, including Arkansas, Georgia, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. Here is a sample.
Raised our voices. We've marched for justice. We've come so far. But to make this moment count, our power must be felt, and our votes are that power. Our power to create police reform that answers our demand for justice. Our power to deliver the health care we need when our lives are on the line. Our power to raise wages, expand Black home ownership, lift up Black businesses. Democrats in Congress are ready to pass our agenda. Republicans are blocking it. They're even trying to block our votes. But across America, we are refusing to be silenced. We're showing up to vote in numbers never seen before. Go to iwillvote.com to make your plan to vote. That's iwillvote.com. Use your power. Vote. Paid for by DCCC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
To conduct research for the campaign, the committee, in partnership with the Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee, hired Black pollsters Ron Lester and Cornell Belcher. Let's talk about it with Eric Savage Wilson, host Savage Politics Podcast. Reese Colbert, Black Women Views, will be joined later by Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Reese, I'm sorry, what the hell took so long? I mean, seriously, they're dropping this 19 days out. Hello, this is the kind of stuff you should have dropped 2 months ago to allow it to germinate for folks to be able to understand it. This is a criticism that Black people keep having. It's like, yo, you don't wait to the last second. You need to be able to do this stuff early. That way it marinates.
Yeah, I think there's validity to that critique. I think right now, there should be more emphasis on voter education with over 12 million people having early voted. People are sending in absentee ballots. and making sure that counts rather than trying to focus on still trying to energize your base. I think people are very energized. I think obviously the Democrats have a far superior economic and all around political message to deliver to Black voters. But, you know, you're fighting against all of the other things that are out there that are hindering that message, such as the disinformation, misinformation, social media campaign, the algorithms, and the Republican spending. Also, the media wants to make this a horse race. And so it does, to a certain degree, feel a little belated. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are very late to tune into politics. They're not people like me who follow it from December 2018, when the first candidates start to, tease being primary candidates for the nomination. And so it's better late than never. I would like to see a large investment. We know that the Democrats have raised over $1 billion in recent months. And so there's certainly money there to invest in reaching out to Black voters.
The issue for me, Erica, is that, again, what has happened is this drops only because you begin to see polling data. And they're specifically targeting Black men, because you see polling data in races in North Carolina, where Tom Tillis is getting 14% of the Black vote. The last time a Republican ran, they would get a Black male vote. They were getting 5%. The race in Detroit, in Michigan as well, with John James and Gary Peters. My problem is, this is why. Folks had to believe that you weren't talking to us. You were ignoring us. And so then one of the things, and I keep saying this, I keep saying it over and over and over again. In fact, do this here. I want y'all to play me that ad again. And I'm going to point out to y'all something that is seriously missing, that makes no sense whatsoever. Play it.
We've raised our voices. We've marched for justice. We've come so far. But to make this moment count, our power must be felt. And our votes are that power. Our power to create police reform that answers our demand for justice. Our power to deliver the health care we need when our lives are on the line. Our power to raise wages, expand Black home ownership, lift up Black businesses. Democrats in Congress are ready to pass our agenda. Republicans are blocking it. They're even trying to block our votes. But across America, we are refusing to be silenced. We're showing up to vote in numbers never seen before. Go to iwillvote.com to make your plan to vote. That's iwillvote.com. Use your power. Vote. Paid for by DCCC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
What I don't understand, Erica, is that Trump is running around the country taking all the credit for the First Step Act. I have said it repeatedly on this show. If you're a Democrat, what the hell are you doing? You passed it in the House. You strengthened it in the United States Senate. No mention in that. No mention in the ad that it was Democrats who wanted criminal justice reform under Obama, and then Republicans blocked it. And yet when Donald Trump became president, the Democrats still had bipartisanship, and it would not have passed without Democrats. Take credit for your own damn work.
Yeah, Roland, and exactly what you're expressing is what many people express around the Democrat Party, is that while they are playing checkers, Republicans have been playing chess, and they've been playing it very, very dirty. When we kind of look at what we're seeing, this seven-figure investment that was dropped by the DCCC, for me, it's really kind of what I've seen over the years being involved in politics and following politics, is that it's much of the same. It is the same get out the vote effort, that kind of jumping in 2 weeks before an election, sitting in church pews. Now we're in the age of COVID, so unable to do that. And just largely saying to what is quoted in the NPR piece that you all said as, we are the most powerful voting bloc in the Democratic Party, that we still do not get that type of treatment. We are treated as, the second date, the second person to consider to take to the prom, not the primary person. And so this is really kind of what we've seen more from the Democratic Party. And then also not to mention that today is October the 15th. This regime has successfully ensured that all data collection, all field operations around the 2020 decennial census will cease today. There are so many other issues that are extraordinarily important and do impact the Black community, the Democrats' most important and powerful voting bloc, that really just kind of don't go into the messaging. And so, again, this is something that we see more of the same. But I would say to the citizens that, listen, there is a responsibility here that you actually make the Democrats court you, that if they are going to continue to rely on us to get them across the finish line, we saw it in 2018 around Doug Jones, that there then is a mandate that we have to put on folks who are elected to office by the might and the power of Black folks, where we continue to see these long lines of people sitting, bringing snacks and folding chairs, which is really nothing more than voter suppression, but it's more of what Black people have been used to, that we actually put a demand on this party to say, you owe us, and you don't owe us at the last minute, you owe us year round.
All I am trying to lay out is that this is one of the most fundamental problems when you talk about politics. We keep saying it, Reese, don't come to us late. Don't come to us to save your ass. Mm-hmm. Don't come to us when you think that you're in trouble. One of the issues that we're dealing with, and we have shown a significant number of these stories. We've shown lots of them. And the story that we've shown is that younger voters don't believe, 37% don't believe that their vote really makes a difference, which means you have to constantly put the work in to say, no, it does matter, and this is what it means. This is what happens when you protest it, and then folks hit the streets. This is what happened when you protested and the results that took place in Congress. This is where, and again, I appreciate the ad, but for me, what I want to hear is, and again, if I'm making the argument, if I am the DCCC, and I'm making the argument to directly to voters, I say Democrats passed the George Floyd Act. Mm-hmm. Republicans in the Senate refused to vote on it. Democrats passed H.R. 4 to say the Voting Rights Act. Republicans would not touch it. Democrats passed. Republicans wouldn't touch it. Democrats passed. Republicans wouldn't touch it. Democrats passed. Republicans ignored it. Democrats passed. Republicans ignored it. You have to say, no, this is what we've done. See, for the people out there who are listening, the problem is the individuals who are disaffected, the individuals who say, you know what, well, y'all ain't done nothing. I mean, folks were hitting me today saying that, this is what they were saying to me. They were saying to me today, you know, all the stuff in Cube's contract with Black America, the CBC has proposed. I said, make it plain. I said, make it plain. I said, this is real simple. What you do is you say, Cube's contract with Black America, CBC, fact, this is what we propose. I said, right. You can't think that folk already know when they actually don't know the type of things you propose. You gotta say it for them to go, wow, they did? Yes. Wow, they did? Yes. Versus these general, they're trying to take our right to vote. No. Be specific.
I totally agree with you on that. I think that Democrats undeniably do the work. They undeniably have the agenda and the receipts that clearly show that they are the party that's going to help move the Black community forward. Unfortunately, like you said, there's a messaging issue. I think that Democrats rely too much on organic content, meaning news and media mentions and newspaper clippings and things like that. and they're losing the messaging war because we've moved past that in our society, unfortunately, with you have to have paid buys, you have to beat the algorithms, you have to beat the different campaigns that are trying to deflect and try to equivocate away from what the Democrats are actually doing. And you can't underestimate or overestimate how much people are willing to seek this information out themselves. I have people who come to my threads where I'm already giving them information and they want more. And I'm like, well, what the hell do you want me? What more do you want me to do? At what point do you have a responsibility? But when you're trying to win elections, then you can't just throw your hands up and say, well, people got to Google it or people have to look it up on themselves. You have to brag on it. Like you said, the Democrats have already passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I haven't heard them hardly mention that at all. And yet you have Donald Trump, who's out there taking credit for the First Step Act, which, as you said, was bipartisan, partially was obstructed while Obama was president. And Trump's plan, his quote unquote platinum plan, he says that he's the first president in decades to pass criminal justice reform, which is flat out false. President Obama passed the Fair Sentencing Act in 2010. And as you mentioned, the Democrats have actually worked to improve on the First Step Act. And so these are just facts of what the Democrats have done. They've passed over 400 bills that are collecting dust on Mitch McConnell's desk. They passed a second CARES Act in May that has been obstructed and thrown out the window by Mitch McConnell. And we can go on and on and on. But the Democrats have to not only communicate it, but they have to communicate it in a number of ways, which hello means memes. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. I know some people get offended when I say people get their news from memes. But when you have something that's a bullet point, it's graphic, it's catchy, more people are going to latch onto that than a PDF, which to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's credit, their Lift Every Voice plan is 22 pages. It's over 10,000 words. It has over 120 mentions of Black or African American compared to Trump's Platinum Plan, which is 2 pages. And one of the pages is just bullet points, and the second page is elaborating slightly on the first page.
It's not even 2 pages.
It's not really even 2 pages.
No, it's really one page. The first one is just a graphic, yes.
Yes, and so that is how, and yet you have a 22-page document that's on Joe Biden's website that's completely ignored, and you have people who flat out say that the Biden-Harris campaign doesn't have a Black agenda. And they say that Trump has a Black agenda. Well, at least he has something, even though it's complete bullshit propaganda. And so that is how the Republicans are winning the messaging war, despite being completely hostile towards the Black community, despite thwarting every single right that we have. With Amy Coney Barrett on the court, they're going to roll back the Voting Rights Act. They're going to roll back all of our civil rights. And then some, and yet you still have a good swath, too far many Black people who believe that there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. And they actually, some even think that Republicans, or Donald Trump specifically, is going to do more for Black people than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That is a messaging failure. And I don't think that it's intentional. I don't think that it's neglectful. I just think that they have to understand that you need graphics, you need social media engagement, you need to be purchasing these things, and you have to think even bigger than what you've been doing if you want to break through to these different communities.
Like, for instance, so there's somebody named Jonathan Brown on my YouTube channel who's lying. He said, Biden has a minority agenda, not a Black agenda. No, it says Black. Jonathan, you're a liar. You're a liar. It
says Black 122 times. In Trump's Platinum Plan, it says Black 28 times. 122, 28. How do you get a plan that says Black 122 times, does not have a Black agenda, but a plan that's 2 pages barely and says it 28 times has a Black agenda? But this is where you also have a problem with people who refuse to accept facts. And so that's another hindrance that the Democrats have. Unfortunately, that's a societal problem. That's how people was raised. That's how people are conditioned. I don't know if they can fix that with $100 million in ad buys, but we have a disconnect between reality and facts, and we live in a post-truth, alternative fact society where people have one set of criteria for the Democrat and one set of criteria for the Republican.
We're going to get into this a little bit later, but I had some other fool who said, so we're supposed to be against $500 billion for Blacks because it's coming from Trump. Reese, that's a lie. Donald Trump's so-called Platinum Plan does not say $500 billion for Blacks. That is a flat-out, undeniable lie.
Right. There's a bullet point that says access to $500 billion in capital. When you actually look at the plan, there are several numbers that are outlined in the plan. One number is $400 billion. You know what that refers to? That refers to the entire infrastructure budget. What Donald Trump is asserting is that, well, we're going to increase the infrastructure budget by $60 billion and Black people are going to get all these jobs. That's not a Black agenda. That's not a set aside. That's not any kind of thing that even amounts to $400 billion or $500 billion. If you actually look at the numbers outlined in the Lift Every Voice plan compared to the numbers outlined in the Platinum plan, there is far more money for Black people and specifically Black communities, like and things like HBCUs and things of that nature, than there actually is in the Trump plan. But because people don't look at the details, the devil's in the details, they get distracted by, again, the graphic. It says glaringly $500 billion. They get distracted by the bullet points. When you have 22 pages over here, they just latch on to that. When the reality is it's propaganda and it's just a word that has no meat and no commitment behind it.
Again, what you're dealing with here, Erica, you're dealing with a messaging battle. And I'm going to say it again, that if you're the Democratic Party, you better understand your messaging on these issues can't just exist within an election framework. Because when you wait, what you do is you allow other things to set in, to lock in, and it's harder to get people out of the disinformation lies as opposed to you having a constant 24/7, 365 strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, the platform that I launched 3 years ago, specifically, it's the Savage Political Bite. That's what I've been doing for a year, talking to people 3 days a week, talking to them specifically about their vote, how they can engage their vote, and making the connection that all politics is not only local, but it's also very personal. Getting people engaged, getting people informed, because when people are informed, they engage and they stand in their power. And that is the formula that I preach, that I'm always imprinting on the people that do tune in and they do listen to that show. And that is what I said in the last statement that I made, that it is not about this 2 week, what has generally been this 2 to 3 week get out the vote campaign, specifically around Black voters. When you look at media and the way that they dissect voters, you hear terms like the working class, specifically the white working class. You hear terms like the suburban mom, where even though Black folks and people of color are heavily populated within those communities, they're talking specifically about white women. You hear all the disaggregation of other groups that are not Black, but when it comes to the Black voter, it is just the Black voter. And what the Democratic Party has continued to fail on is really talking specifically to the Black voter, as I said moments ago, year round, not the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks of an election. And then in addition to that, what also needs to happen around Black people in voting and messaging is also making sure that they are folded into the conversations that are not just about criminal justice reform. We are affected by climate change. With the onset of COVID, and we look at the head of the Secretary of the EPA and all of the rollbacks that happened right at the beginning of COVID, those rollbacks and waivers that companies were able to receive to continue to pollute communities disproportionately impacted Black and brown communities. And so when people are actually made aware of these different social determinants of health that continue to impact Black and brown communities, when they are talked to and not talked at, and then when there's not a labor of messaging that's put on people who aren't paid to do it. Just thinking about people who have a sense of concern and sense of urgency about their community that do launch platforms, that do take the time to really dissect different pieces that may be kind of very broad on its face, to make people more aware, to again bring them into the fold as it concerns their politics. And so that is something that that the Democratic Party is going to have to step up on, is not depending on unpaid labor of Black people, specifically Black women that really do care and carry communities, but really folding us into a year-round, every year campaign of talking and messaging to Black voters.
All right, so for all y'all out there, okay, with that lying $500 billion for black people? This right here is the actual so-called platinum plan. This is it right here, okay? Let me zoom in on the $500 billion for black people since y'all think we lying. This is the only reference to $500 billion. It says, seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
Let me say it again. That ain't got nothing to do. That is not, we're going to invest $500 billion in black communities at all.
Period.
That has nothing. So for all y'all saying the plan has $500 billion for black people, that is a lie. Go back. Here's the other deal. This is what it says. Increase opportunities for small business lending and technical assistance through community development financial institutions in order to grow business and create generational wealth opportunities with over $400 billion in lending. Okay? They are not, that does not say they are going to create $400 billion in lending.
Right.
Y'all, that's not what that says.
No.
That's not what it says. In order to grow business and create generational wealth opportunities with over $400 billion in lending. Who's actually getting that? See, that's the deal. See, so when y'all fall for the okie doke, when you fall for the okie doke, and same thing, and I broke it down in here, and we're gonna deal with it in a minute when Ice Cube comes on. Champion federal policy reforms to advance home ownership initiatives. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? That actually says nothing.
It says nothing.
What are your current housing plans right now? What did you do when black home ownership dropped to 40%? See, this is why I call this the aluminum foil plan. This is why I panned it, because it's BS. And folks are, oh, Trump got a platinum plan. Because he think when y'all hear platinum, you thinking all of a sudden some bottles gonna be popping and some women gonna walk out with little sparkly things all flying on top of it. And it's like, ooh, the platinum plan. No, that's not what it is.
No.
It's not what it is. All right, folks, yesterday, Essence of the Black Women's Roundtable actually released their sixth annual Power of the Sister Vote poll. The poll is conducted annually to gauge the political concerns, attitudes, and opinions of black women across the country and identify what black women want for their vote from presidential candidates in 2020. Joining us right now is Melanie Campbell, president of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable, plus Dr. Avis Jones-Weaver, senior analyst for Black Women's Roundtable Resource Development. All right, Melanie, exactly what does this survey say black women want? Can't hear you, Melanie. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Unmute.
Apologize for that.
There you go. Go ahead.
First of all, I just want to say thank you. I was following you while you were in Texas and Dallas and Houston and all over the place and getting that vote out and sharing just how our folks would not be moved. So I just wanted to say that to you.
Appreciate
it. All you're doing to make sure our people show up and show out and get our vote counted. Well, 6 years we partnered with Essence. And so the number one issue, cross generations, again, 3 years in a row, racism, rising hate crimes were number one. Number two, criminal justice and policing reform. Number three, affordable health care. And a couple of other things that were, and it was all about survival, safety, and stability were top black community concerns for black women. And when it came to what they want the candidates to address for our vote, and that's a question we asked them, one that has a plan to reduce structural and systemic racism was 49%, policing and criminal justice reform, 45%, plans to eradicate COVID-19 was 30%. So the issues for these last 3 years under this administration went from the first 3 years, they were more aspirational, if you will. We were focused on affordable college college affordability and things that had to do with that were, again, aspirational. But in these last 3 years, this is not a society these days that we're living in the United States that is not, it's not covert racism, it's outright racism, it's outright white nationalism. And we're seeing that across the board, and it's coming from the top. And so that's why we see this when it comes to what Black women are thinking about what their concerns are. Supreme Court is on the top of the list as well. A concern, 63% of Black women have a concern about what was going on with the Supreme Court. And then I'd like to, so those were some of the top lines, and Avis may have some others she definitely would share.
Avis?
Yeah, I think what was really, to me, really striking to us is that over and over and over again, this issue of safety and survival kept coming up in the survey in various ways. So, for example, in past years, we might have seen a little bit of a difference between how more seasoned women would respond in terms of their most critical priorities and how younger generations like millennials and Zs might respond. But that wasn't the case this year, by and large. All women across various different age demographics, their number one concern for them in terms of their communities, as well as their number one concern with regards to their specific families and their personal issues that impacted their lives, was this issue of this issue of the rise in hate crime and racism in America. We see that as a mortal threat for our community at large and for us personally. I think another key issue that I think that the Democrats need to take notes on is this issue of how Black women are feeling with regards to how well the Democratic Party is serving their interests. We are seeing, once again, a bit of a generational shift there, where older women are more likely to say that than younger women. However, we are seeing that Democrats have been able to improve a great deal from last year when we did this survey with regards to young women's perceptions of the party being able to represent their interests. So that to me tells me that a lot of our younger women, our Gen Zs, our millennials, they really want to see policy change. You know, they are really about the substance. And at the end of the day, Black women really are very pragmatic voters. They want to make sure that the person that they vote for moves on those issues that they care about, like attacking systemic racism, like making sure that this COVID crisis is addressed with a cogent policy, and also making sure that we are able to address this issue of criminal justice and policing reform. You know, these are key issues that are important for Black women voters, and I would argue that they are important for the entire Black community.
Melanie, one of the things that, when we look at how folks vote, I mean, at the end of the day, Black women are no different from anybody else. If you speak to us and our issues, then we are going to vote accordingly. The argument that I was making even a little bit earlier with those DCCC ads that they're dropping now in targeted congressional districts 19 days out is you need to be talking to and speaking to and messaging 24/7, 365, so you're not trying to play catch up around election time.
Of course, I will say that some of the sisters I know that inside of the party have been working hard for the past year. The Wakinyas and the Clanton and other sisters that are inside of the party, because, you know, Roland, I know you had me on when Glenda Carr and we all signed that letter, and I think that was 2 years ago. And so one of the things, and we had several meetings and seeing a lot more happened, at least from I can't speak all for the DCCC because we know how it gets depending on which committee it gets in the weeds about it. But with the DNC, I can say that some of those sisters that are in there getting it have been grinding for well over a year, if not longer.
Oh, no.
Make some changes inside the party.
The sisters in the party have been grinding, but let's just be real clear. The problem is that those who are in the decision-making positions, who determine where the assets go, who determine those various things, that's the problem.
A consistent problem, and I would say that I hope that some of that has improved. I stay on this nonpartisan side, especially this time of year, so I don't really say I have a handle on what's happening on the partisan side of politics. I keep my firewall up to make sure that we do what we need to do on the nonpartisan side.
I got one. I got one. I ain't got to play nobody's side. I get to call out anybody and everybody. But the bottom line is this here, and what I'm saying is you have to let folks know what you're doing. Look, I've been telling the CBC that. I have told the CBC, the CBC Foundation, the CBC PAC, the CBC Institute, don't nobody know what the hell y'all doing. You can't, if you don't message, if you don't communicate, folk just don't know. The average person really does not know what a member of Congress does. They just think, well, I ain't seen you pass no bills, not realizing that you can have a profound impact on policy and you won't put your name on nothing.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Roland. First of all, let me just say, putting on my independent entrepreneurial hat here, that definitely the Democratic Party needs a ton of help with messaging. I completely agree with that. And I also agree with what you just said about, oftentimes when people are busy in their everyday lives, they really have no idea really who's responsible for what's happening on Capitol Hill that ultimately trickles down to impact their lives. Like you will hear a lot of people, maybe someone who will be coming on your show in a few minutes, who will try to be saying things about how Barack Obama didn't do anything for Black people. And I would want to ask him, what the hell does he think that Donald Trump has been deconstructing for his first 3 years in office? He's been going through every policy and every institute, every department of this government that you can imagine, deconstructing all of the things that President Obama did. You know why? Because he was busy working. He wasn't busy on some basic sort of commercial acts in terms of marketing about everything that he was doing, in the same way that this marketer in chief is doing right now with his Platinum/10-4 plan. So what I want people to understand is that oftentimes you're exactly right. A lot of things that go on it's kind of invisible because we aren't really made aware of it at the time. And that's exactly why we're seeing this shift in our poll, because we saw that under the Obama administration, Black women's priorities were more aspirational. At that time, they prioritized things like making college more affordable, making public education a more quality experience for all children. But right now, under the Trump administration, they're just trying to live. Their priorities are now not getting killed by racists. Their priorities now is not getting killed by the police. Their priority now is being able to go into the hospital if they happen to contract coronavirus. So when things are going well, sometimes we don't even see all the things that people are doing for us that are elected officials that are making a difference in our lives.
So so final point, Melanie, what in about 30 seconds, what more should people know about this particular plan, this survey?
Well, I could say to all those who need the black women's vote, if you want to know what Black women want, go check us out with unitycampaign.org. But I can't leave this thing without saying part of this is not just to do this for exercise, but also to make sure that we have a roadmap on the things that we know we're going to be focusing in on to hold elected officials accountable, whoever gets elected in 2021. And again, make sure that you have a vote plan. Stay in those lines. We know they're trying to steal our vote. We're not going to have it on our watch. Have a plan. Make sure you have a plan. Know where you need to go vote, and go vote early or get ready on election day. And so thank you, Roland. And again, thank you for all you were doing and to continue to get the message out to our people. All
right. Certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Melanie Campbell and Dr. Avis Jones-Weaver. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Going to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk with Ice Cube. We'll just talk about his contract with Black America, the Trump campaign saying that he helped them with their platinum plan, and all of the criticism that he has been receiving. That is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
And I think that's why what we're seeing so much, especially when you look at who's controlling the country and how the country is being controlled, it is because the powers that be and those that know how the system works are taking advantage of the system for their own interests. So part of it when it comes to this millennial generation is education. You got to understand why it's so important, understand what's really at stake. So the things that you're seeing, that they may be seeing right now that make you angry, here's how you can affect change.
So a lot of y'all always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they make these about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, you know, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, unlike other, because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So it's RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. Has been a busy 24 hours for Ice Cube since Republicans supporting Trump sent this tweet out yesterday. This went out from Deontay Johnson. So Ice Cube has officially given the Trump campaign permission to reveal that he has been helping us develop President Trump's groundbreaking Black Trump platform, the Platinum Plan. Katrina Pearson, he was also had this here. Shout out to Ice Cube for his willingness to step up and work with Donald Trump administration to help develop the Platinum Plan. That has caused a lot of people to be very critical of Ice Cube. Many call him a turncoat and all kind of other names. And so as opposed to sitting here having people just talk about it, we said we'll talk to him. He joins us now. Glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Ice Cube. So let's start this way. When they say you worked with them to develop the Platinum Plan, what does that actually mean? What did you do? Who did you talk to?
Well, what they did, they had a plan. Their plan is the Platinum Plan. My plan is the Contract with Black America. So they had their Platinum Plan, and they saw things in the Contract with Black America that were directed, directly to Black Americans and not just to all minorities. And they asked to speak with us. I always told everybody, as soon as we finish the Contract with Black America, or not finish because it's still a growing document, I told everybody that I was going to meet with both sides, and I don't know why they didn't believe me. This is not a partisan issue. It's actually a bipartisan issue. And we have to talk to people who have the power to make things happen. Now, they asked to speak to me so I can explain some of my concepts of the contract with Black America.
Who is they? Was it Donald Trump? Was it his campaign team? Was it officials in the White House? Who's they?
I've never met Donald Trump a day in my life.
Got it.
And I've never been to the White House. Okay. So it was people on his campaign. This chick who put out the tweet, it wasn't her. I never met her either. I don't even know who she is.
Katrina Pearson. You don't know who that is? Never met her?
No, I've never met her.
Okay.
But the thing is this, they looked at the Contract with Black America and they saw that their plan was lacking, and they they wanted to implement some of the things from the Contract with Black America into their plan. And I said, you're welcome to do it. And I would say the same thing to the Biden campaign. They're welcome to do it. Some great ideas. I haven't, seen too many people disputing the Contract with Black America. Everybody understand that it's needed and it's necessary. So I don't mind anybody in the public sector or in the private sector using parts of it, asking me about it, asking for me to understand, what am I talking about when it comes to trying to not count us as minorities, but to count us as, pretty much a protected race. And so I think we're being buried under a lot of words like minority and people of color and things like that. Now, their plan is still their plan. It's not my plan. Their plan, like all of them, don't go far enough. All of them can be better, but these are just the facts of what happened. This is the Biden campaign basically said, we love 85% of your plan, but we want to talk after the election. That's fine. I'm willing to talk after the election. I just think both sides of the aisle need to take this serious.
So what's in their plan that they actually took from yours? Because I've gone through their plan line by line. And be perfectly honest with you, I don't see what's in their plan they released and even mirrors what's in yours.
Well, like I said, both plans between both parties are lacking. So, this is what they did. You have to look at the Contract with Black America and see where the overlap is. But, the thing that what I tried to make them understand is, they have programs, and both parties have programs that are built for minorities and people of color and diversity and urban and these words that don't include us, because they include us, but we only get a small portion most of the time of these programs. So we have to train all politicians that we are Black people, Black Americans, most of and I'm specifically talking about the descendants of slavery, and we have to be dealt with, or our concerns have to be rectified as that, and not as a blanket thing with all other minorities. That puts us under 100% of the population here, and I don't know if we can ever get up out of that.
But with your contract, it lists these 13 different points here. And again, in their plan, what do you see in the Platinum Plan they released that mentions that mirrors anything that's in yours?
You got, if I'm looking at it, agreeing to direct VC money to Black investment companies up to $40 billion.
Because see, a lot of people have been talking about this $500 billion. That's not going to Black people. In fact, that's just actually the infrastructure funding program. That's not actually $500 billion going to Black people. And then when they say,
well, how many billion is the other one given to Black people?
No. That's not. No, I'm saying is that's not even. They list this thing under Black economic empowerment and access to capital. It says seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities. Even that line right there is not for Black people. That's federal contracting opportunities for everybody. So that's not. So they're trying to make it sound like, oh, $500 billion to Black people. It's not. That's the actual annual program overall for everybody.
Yeah, I understand what you see in that, but it's really up to us to try to direct that money to Black people.
Right. But there's a difference.
If we're not in contact or not talking to a certain administration because we're on another team and they win, then what do? Just sit back and wait?
Oh, no.
4 years?
No. I agree with you 100% on that because
all of them got flaws in their plan. All of them got holes in their plan. Like I said, they put out this stuff, not me.
Right. I'm just trying to find
and told them what I think. And so from there, they ran with it and did what they wanted to do with it. That's not really my concern. My concern more is making sure that both of these candidates understand that this money has to be directed to Black people. It's a lot of language in both plans that are iffy, tricky, and are there really to make sure we don't get the money. So it's really up to people to engage and make sure that money go where it's supposed to go. But, I agree. We've been lied to for a long time, for 400 years or more. And so, one thing I know is we have to do something different. And, one thing is never being too one-sided, hard-headed, proud to speak to whoever's in power. Every great man in the world has spoke to somebody in power at some point in time, whether they agree with him or not. Listen.
Right.
So for me, I told everybody what I was going to do, and I did it. And, they exploited it. But if I would have, did something for Biden, they would have exploited it too. So that's just part of the game. The thing is this. The thing is to get movement. The thing is to make sure that we move the needle no matter who's elected.
I agree.
Our program has to be pushed through. So non-dialogue to me is not how.
No. Here's the deal.
How you do it.
Here's the deal, Cube. I'm not against dialogue. I sat in 2 meetings with Trump and with other television anchors as well. I've been challenging them. Well, I want you to come talk to Black media. I know of other African Americans who've been meeting with them on PPP, on other issues as well. The thing for me is this here. I judge folks on what you do. And what I look at is Donald Trump goes to Atlanta, makes this big old announcement about his platinum plan, and I'm sitting there going. So, for instance, I'll pull it up. When I see this plan, and then I see in here where he goes, make Juneteenth a national holiday. Well, first of all, that could have happened in July, but Senator Rob Johnson of Wisconsin still have been blocked in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, tweeted nothing, did nothing. He said in here also about the anti-lynching bill. Same thing. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky stood up, blocked it in the Senate. Donald Trump said nothing, did nothing. He in here talks about prosecute the KKK and Antifa. Hell, when they had the debate with Joe Biden, he tried to shut Joe Biden down when he was quoting Christopher Wray, the FBI director, who said the greatest threat of terrorism in America is white domestic terrorism. But the thing is, when I was sitting here, and again, I looked in May. No, hold on one second. But here's my point. In May, when the Biden this is what it's called, the Lift Every Voice, the Biden Plan for Black America. I went through the entire plan and broke it down. Then I went through the Trump Platinum Plan and broke it all down. The issue for me is that when it comes to Trump's plan, there's no specificity. There just simply isn't. Even when you talk about programs, I will say when I go through Biden's program, when he's talking about state small business credit initiative, expand new markets tax credit, improve and expand the SBA programs that most effectively support Black-owned businesses, and laying things out that are specifics. That's the deal. I'm looking at a 22-page plan from Biden and a 1-page plan for Trump, and I'm sitting there going, and I went through Trump's plan. I'm like, there's nothing there. It's a lot of words. Not really, because it's only 1 page. But the deal is, I'm like, dude, you being the president, you want to make this whole deal how you ushered in economic prosperity, which really all started under Obama beginning in 2010. But it is lacking. Do you believe that the Trump campaign greatly overstated your involvement for the purpose of them being able to say, we have attached ourselves to Ice Cube? Did you believe that you were used politically for their purposes as opposed to really what happened?
Look, I knew whoever I engaged with would use that politically. I don't care about that part. The part I care about is getting something done. Look, my plan is called the Contract with Black America. So all of them lacking when it comes to that. So that's what I'm pushing. So anybody who's going to implement those plans into their plan, then I'm going to take a look at it. But both plans are lacking, and that's why we become educated voters for real, and then you pick who you want to pick. But at the end of the day, for us not to engage with both sides of the aisle to fix this, which I think is an American problem, that to me ain't going to help us in the end. What's going to help us is once we, realize how much power we have. Now, you said that, of course, Trump didn't stop all these things or didn't mention these things. Okay, maybe it was before he knew he needed the black vote as much as he do. You never know. This is what deals are made of. So I don't know what they're going to do.
No. That's actually that's not the case. Hold on. I can tell you personally. No. Hold up. You said before you knew the black vote. I just want to just correct something, Ice Cube. I'm going to let you finish. Yeah. I just want to correct something. I met with the White House in 2018. They told me directly in 2018, we think we can get 20% black male support in the 2020. So it didn't, they were fully aware of that.
Why'd you meet with him? Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
What'd you meet with him to talk about?
I'm a journalist. I met with him to talk about public policy issues, to ask them those various questions.
Public policy issues, and their thing was to get 20% of the vote.
No, right. Okay. No, they said not 20% of the vote.
Did they think they was going to get that for free?
Right. This is what they said. They said they believed they could get 20% of the black male vote, and they specifically said they were going to use criminal justice reform and economic policies.
Why did they think they can get 20% of the black male vote? Why do they think that?
Because they said they think that they can appeal to disaffected black men. They point blank, they know black women don't like them.
Why can they appeal to that demographic? Who's not appealing to that demographic? How can they swoop in and get it?
Who?
That should have been covered.
What do you mean?
This is what I'm asking. How can they swoop in and get something that's supposed to be covered?
Well, first of all, that's not the case because in 2012, between Obama and Romney,